Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors are Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. I really appreciate you joining me today, and this is a follow-up to a story that I did in January of 2021. But I've been going to the scenes of these crimes for over 3 years. There is nothing that can prepare you for the death of a child and seeing people in the local area and how they react and how it affects them and how it affects the family as well. But this is what journalism is about. It's about documenting something over a long period of time. I've covered several cases of young people that have been killed in the West Midlands especially. And I've worked very close with the families to make sure that it's respectful and also correct. In this case, turning up to the scene where a young man who was 15 had been shot and stabbed and left to die in the street was really hard. He was later identified as Keon Lincoln, and he was ran down on the 21st of January when he was talking to a friend outside his house in Linwood Road, Handsworth, Birmingham. A white Ford S-Max pulled up and several youths jumped out. Keon jumped over a garden wall and ran up the road, but they chased him down and stabbed him from behind. A shot rang out while Keon was lay on the floor and hit him in the stomach, and this was caught on CCTV, and the prosecution during the case said that this came from a 14-year-old's hand. The gang of teenagers were carrying machetes and Rambo knives, and CCTV also picked up them running down the street with these weapons moments before Keon was killed. Keon managed to get up after being shot and stabbed, but he was chased again, and he was slashed, and falling to the ground for a second time, the group ran back to the car that was stolen, and Keon managed to get up and fell down again, and that is where he died. Local residents rushed to his aid. One of them was a nurse, and emergency services arrived shortly after. Keon's mother and sisters were there as well, and he was taken to hospital, but his life couldn't be saved. The Ford S-Max that the kids came in was driven off, and it crashed into a house on Wheeler Street a short time later, and the occupants made off on foot. An intense investigation began, with police working around the clock to try to trace the movements of the killers on CCTV. The S-Max was stolen earlier in January and had false plates on during the murder. A large knife in a sheath was found in the footwell of the car, and DNA matches to Keon and also 18-year-old Michael Hugo Chukwu. A face mask in the boot contained DNA traces from a 16-year-old defendant who could not be named for legal reasons. Police also tracked their mobile phones and seen the suspects had earlier met in Dakin Avenue. From there they took a taxi to Lakewood Drive, which was 10 minutes away from Urkel Close, where they picked up the S-Max. After Keon's murder and crashing the S-Max, the defendants separated. Michael from Edgbaston and 18-year-old Taj Geem Breckenridge from Borsleaf were captured on CCTV walking away from Wheeler Street. The other two defendants, a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, took a taxi and they all met back up at Dakin Avenue. Kieran Donaldson from Aston Lane, Birmingham, was the only one that was aged 18 at the time. He was not present at the attack, but he supplied the weapons that were used to inflict the injuries on the teenagers. He was therefore convicted of manslaughter. Within 24 hours, detectives made 2 arrests, and over 3 weeks more followed. Although 4 have now been found guilty of Keon's murder, the investigation continues. Detective Inspector Jim Coffclough, leading the investigation, said the murder of Keon Lincoln not only devastated his family, but brought shock and sadness to the whole community. Not least because this attack was so brutal, but because he was a schoolboy as well, and the 14-year-old convicted of his shooting is a child himself. Keon's mother Charmaine spoke of her grief and said, "It's a nightmare that I cannot wake up from. My heart is broken beyond repair and a piece of my soul has been taken. I see my baby boy's face slumped on the ground, struggling to breathe every single day. I hear the words his heart has stopped and I miss him so much and that it physically hurts." A close family friend who is Reverend Neville Popo knew Keon all his life and supported the family throughout the murder investigation. They will be sentenced on the 29th of November, and the 14-year-old was also convicted of possession of a firearm, and the other 3 were convicted of Keon's murder as well as possession of offensive weapons.
All that is really wanted today is justice. It's not about sort of getting back at the people that's done the crime, but it's about just getting justice for the crime that's been done. This has to stop, and community leaders, and faith leaders, we're all saying the same.
The first question that everybody asks in this story is, how does a 14-year-old get a gun? And of course, no 14-year-old could afford a gun or anything like that, so they must have either obtained it through somebody or been given it. And the police said they never found any direct motive for why Keon was killed and why they wanted him dead. But the road that the car was found on has been the scene of many shootings in the past few years. A 14-year-old boy was even shot on Wheeler Street as recently as a year ago. And the locals have spoken out about the fear that they feel in the area to the local papers. So I send my condolences to the family of Keon. Feel free to get in touch with myself or any member of the team, and I'll definitely get back to you via the website or Instagram and social media, and we'll try to guide you in the right direction to turn your life around. And this is why I don't try to preach, I just try to educate, and it's only you that can make the choice that you want to make in life. And I hope that some people do after watching this video. So rest in peace to Keon Lincoln, and I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Please don't forget to follow online as well at Scarcity Studios on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok. Peace.